The Chesapeake Bay once had oyster pirates, and men died fighting them. Not thieves hiding on distant oceans. These were armed watermen fighting across the Chesapeake itself. Some oyster boats carried enough firepower to rival small warships. And for decades, the Chesapeake became one of the most dangerous waterways in America. In the years after the Civil War, oysters were everywhere. Massive reefs covered huge sections of the bay, and demand exploded. Oysters fed cities, built fortunes, and transformed entire waterfront towns. But money changes people. The more valuable oysters became, the more violent the competition grew. Watermen began trespassing into protected oyster grounds, especially at night. Many crews carried rifles, others mounted cannons directly onto their boats, and soon the bay turned violent. Much of the violence centered around Maryland's oyster grounds, where some of the fiercest clashes erupted on the bay. By the late 1800s, the Oyster Wars had fully erupted. Maryland responded by creating an armed oyster police force. Their mission was simple: stop the oyster pirates. But enforcing the law across the Chesapeake wasn't easy. The watershed was enormous, filled with hidden coves, narrow creeks, and isolated shorelines, perfect for disappearing into the dark. And this is where the Oyster Wars escalated. Armed clashes erupted across the bay. Boats exchanged gunfire, crews rammed each other. Some fights ended in death. The Chesapeake had become a battlefield. But beneath the violence, another problem was growing. The oyster reefs themselves were disappearing. Overharvesting was destroying the ecosystem that made the industry possible. The bay was being emptied, one harvest at a time. By the mid-20th century, the Oyster Wars had mostly faded, but the damage to the bay remained. Today, the violence is gone, but the Chesapeake is still trying to recover. Oyster restoration projects now work to rebuild what was nearly lost. A reminder that the bay's history was never just about water. It was about survival, money, power, and conflict. Because long before the modern Chesapeake, men once fought a war across these waters. If the water remembers it, we'll tell it. Subscribe to River Realm Life for more stories from the Chesapeake watershed.